Hey guys, this is Equinox. This is going to be the Vengeance DH version of the M Plus update. So I'm just going to be going over their damage, their mitigation, their control, everything like that, how their tier set's looking. And yeah, let's jump right into it. So first off, damage-wise, DH is looking a little bit worse than Brew, but not by much, and it's a little bit better than Prot Warrior if you're really good at using your cooldowns on cooldown and pulling around your Elysian Decree and positioning hunt properly to get all the dots off. So if you're good at all that, the damage is quite strong. The self healing is absolutely insane. Um, you have like I'd say pretty similar to Blood DK self healing, as long as you're timing your spear bombs properly. The Feldo, your meta windows make you extremely tanky. Outside of your meta windows, you're still susceptible to getting one shot by combo abilities, so it's not going to be like you're unkillable like Prot Warrior. But if you play it correctly, you will be very hard to kill. And you have a blanket with cheat death, so it's not really that bad. So personally, I think Vengeance DH is extremely tanky. Back to damage though. They have very strong burst AoE, and they have decent sustained damage. It's not going to be like Brew sustained damage, but it's not going to be It's not going to be like Prot Warrior outside of cooldowns damage. So they're going to be a little bit higher than Prot Warriors outside of their cooldowns, but they're going to be less than Brew outside of their cooldowns. Brew has the highest sustained AoE damage out of any tank. Single target damage, their single target damage is quite good. I actually don't have any issues with the single target. As long as you're using Soul Cleave properly and all that jazz. So their rotation's like really simple. If you want a simple tank that is like very easy rotation, then this is definitely the one for you. The nuance in DH comes with their mitigation, their Feldev timings, and their utility usage. The rotation itself is extremely easy. Um, so if you want an easy rotation tank, this is definitely the one you want to look for. Let's go into their healing. So their healing, most of their healing still comes from Consume Soul, but a lot of it now comes from Frailty and Leech. Or Spirit Bomb and Leech, sorry. Spirit Bomb and Leech. So Consume Soul is kind of like akin to Death Strike. Each soul heals you for a percent of the damage you took recently. And then, yeah, so you consume 5 souls, you heal for a crap ton. But then their leech, they have 13% leech with enchant, 10% base, and then they have the spirit bomb healing. So they have a lot of self healing. You can pretty much live on your own as long as you're taking enough damage to sustain. There's like a sweet spot in damage taken for like these self healing tanks where they're taking too much damage to sustain it, but they're taking too little to out heal it. If you know what I mean. If they're taking a lot of damage, they will out heal the damage almost always. But if they're taking a little bit, like a little too much damage, but not enough to make their self-healing big, then it's kind of bad. But overall, their self-healing is more, I'd say less RNG than Brew, but it has less spikes, so it's like more consistent self-healing. But Brew is much like you full heal from 0 to full, like you can full heal from 0 to full every 5 seconds on Brew if you get crits. But yeah, DH is very consistent self-healing. They have very tanky windows, so they have metamorphosis windows through Demonic and their tree. It gives them meta for a few seconds, and that's something you have in Shadowlands too, and it's something you really want to play around. So you don't want to just use Feldev on cooldown for damage. I know it's like you can probably do that in low keys. I wouldn't do that in high keys personally, but that's just how I like to play. If you're a very confident tank and you want to just use Feldev on cooldown for damage, like be my guest, completely fine. But how I like to play, I think playing around the meta windows actually gives you a little bit of nuance to the class. They have Last Resort, which gives them another meta proc, and they have just your straight normal meta. So you have plenty of ways to tank huge pulls. You have plenty of cooldowns to tank huge pulls, and at the end of the day, if you need to, you can kite. So let's get into their control. Their control is like I mentioned in the other 2 tank videos. This is the tank with the best control out of any tank at the moment. They have insane control. So they have Sigil of Silence, and if you go with Concentrated Sigils, it is a 10-second silence. A 10-second silence is absolutely insane. That is such a long silence to have on caster mobs, especially in dungeons like this Ruby Life Pools. You see the silence that goes out right now. It lasts literally forever. It's so strong. They also have Chaos Nova, which they did not have in Shadowlands, which is really good. They have their regular kick, which is a 10-yard range. So they have a 10-yard kick, which is extremely good. It's like DK kick. That's very good for grouping on mobs. And then they have Imprison, which is a single target CC. This is a hard CC for skips that works. It's one of a couple CCs that actually work for skips. That and Sap. I'm pretty sure those are the only two that are non-combat skips. And yeah, that's about it for their control. They have the and you can get a Sigil of Misery. If you want, you can get Sigil of Misery and Sigil of Chains. If you get those two, your CC is the best in the game. But out of any class, like, it is absolutely insane how you can lock down a pack by yourself. But you don't really need to spec into those two. You really want other stuff in the trees. Unfortunately, with how they changed the Vengeance DH tree, you can no longer get Misery without giving up too much stuff. You give up way too much stuff to get a Sigil of Misery now, which is unfortunate. But I still like their tree. I think Vengeance DH tree is quite good. You can get a lot of options. You get Elysian Decree and Last Resort, which is fantastic. The new Soul Crush, which is Frailty overlap, Soul Charges overlap, and Soul Cleave applies Frailty to your primal target. And then you get Void Reaver. Frailty now also reduces the damage you take from inflict targets by 4%. This will stack with Soul Crush. And then you have Spirit Bomb, cause you to heal for 8 damage you deal to them. So the stacks also, so you're healing for 24% of the damage with 3 stacks, etc., etc. So there's basically the whole left side of your tree, which the build will be like down below. The whole left side of your tree makes so stacking Frailty is the playstyle, right? So the more Frailty you have, the more self-healing you do, and the more self-healing you do, the tankier you are. But yeah, that's I really like their tree. I think it's good. The only thing I wish they would change is have better access to Sigil of Chains. And in the general tree, I wish they would have kept the general tree the same as it was. But because right now having access to Sigil of Misery is kind of weird. You have to give up something that you don't want to give up for it. I guess in a dungeon where you need 0 kicks, you could give it up. Actually, no, you can't because of how the branching works. So yeah, you can literally never give it up. You could give up Immo or a crit, I guess, for something else. But yeah, I think Vengeance DH right now is tied with Brew and Prot Warrior. I think those 3 are the best tanks right now. Prot Warrior, just because of how easy it is to use and how strong it is defensively, it's just S tier. And Brew and DH are like lower S tier. You know what I mean? I cannot speak on Prop Alley DK and Bear, but Prop Alley is bugged right now. It does way too much damage. It has, because of 2 bugs, it has Perma Grand Crusader procs with Blessed Hammer, and it has this AoE talent that Red has and they don't. So this on their wings. So hard to judge Prop Alley right now. When it gets fixed, I will be able to judge those tanks much easier. But yeah, that is. Oh, almost forgot. Let's go over their tier set and how their tier set performs. Actually, their tier set has a very it does not proc very much. I'll be completely honest with you guys. It is strong when it procs, but it does not proc very often. I would like to see the proc rate up to 20%, 24, 25%, one of the two, because right now it procs not very often. And I would prefer it proc a lot more because it is like the main feature of their tier. Like their 4 set is the big part of their tier. And so I think that's about it. Their 2 set is very good. It feels amazing, by the way. The amount of it feels very strong. I really like the 2 set design. I don't like how RNG the 4 set is. So I think their tier is worse than Brew and Prot Warriors, because Brew and Prot Warriors are consistent every single time. You're getting the same value every single pack. And yeah, you can always rely on their tier set. DH, you cannot rely on their tier set. It is RNG. It is innately RNG, so you cannot rely on it heavily. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the DH tier set. Overall, I think DH is in a really strong spot. I think they're in a way stronger spot than they were in Shadowlands. except for season one. Actually, they are better than they were in season one. In season one, they're way tankier than they were in season one of Shadowlands. That's the one thing I really love about Dragonflight tank design is they are all self-reliant for the most part. I cannot speak on Bear, but I know the rest are self-reliant, and I think that is what they should be going for. Every tank should have the option to be self-reliant, but healer help is always welcome on certain tanks like Brew. And I hope they keep that design philosophy going forward because nobody likes playing tanks that aren't self-reliant anymore. Once you go down that design hole and you start giving tanks some self-reliability over the years, like here and there, they're just gonna want it. Because once you can just rely on yourself and you don't have to rely on other people's help, the game becomes a lot more fun and you can focus on doing other stuff. I know that is completely an opinion, by the way, so I know other people feel differently about that. But that'll pretty much wrap it up. The only other thing I have left to say is between the 3 tanks that I've done videos about, you will not feel bad about picking any of them. They are all extremely strong. They bring the different things to each group. They bring DH buff, Battle Shout, and Monk buff, Mystic Touch. So depending on the DPS meta, if it's a heavy caster meta, DH is just going to be too good. Like, DH is going to be way too good. Like, their magic buff is amazing. So yeah, that is about it. I'm going to let the video finish out, and I will leave a comment, like the video, share, follow me on Twitter, Twitch, all the way below. The build will be linked below, as always. I will link the build, and I will link the damage breakdown from this dungeon in the description below. I'll have screenshots of that. And yep, have a good one. I'll let the video finish out for you guys.
It's too far away. I need to target something first.